Here for Who's Telling the Truth. Today is July 13th, 2015. This is show number 102, and the name of the show is E.P.A. Guys, I'm sorry. I had to say it that way for Joe and the simple folk. You know? The show is not called E.P.A. The show is going to be about the E.P.A., the Environmental Protection Agency. But you know what? I don't want to confuse Uncle Joe anymore, so I better explain what environmental is, because a lot of people have the wrong impression about what the E.P.A. is. And the actual definition for for environment is the surroundings or conditions in which a person, plant, or animal lives or operates. Its habitat, its territory. So guys, the E.P.A., the Environment, the Protection Agency, and that's what we want to, that's what the lion's share of tonight's show is going to be on. But before we start that, we have to have some fun. And why? Because I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but Obamacare, they came out with the results for Obamacare and how beneficial it's been. So Judy, if you could slide that first, now the first still. There we go. Guys, go ahead, Judy, go full with this. Guys, I want you to take a good look at this. This is the percentage of uninsured in the United States by quarters. And they more or less ask the question, do you have health insurance coverage? And this is among adults aged 18 and over. And guys, if you look right before 2014, and Judy, you can come back and forth to me. There you go. The uninsured level was 18%. Now it just, let's go a little bit bigger, Judy. Now it just got under, it's 11.9%. So it's dropped 6 percentage points. So it went from 18 and it lost 6 percentage points. So guys, what would that be? 6 over 18 is would be 1/3, right? So far, in 1 year, less than 1.5 years, Obamacare has dropped the amount of people that are uninsured by 1/3. Let's go back to the chart one more time. I mean, guys, you don't see stuff like this. I mean, this is just, when you talk about a success story, that's your success story. And that's something to take a victory lap about. But you know what? All right, Judy, can you come back to me now? But you know what, guys? A lot of times, Obama doesn't toot his own horn. No, he really doesn't. And, you know, I tell you, speaking of Uncle Joe, Uncle Joe, he still doesn't have Obamacare. And guys, you're not going to believe this. Do you remember, this was back in the winter time. When Uncle Joe texted me, now he blogged me and he said, Rich, my hip just popped out. You had your hip replaced, didn't you? What do I do? And I said, Joe, go to the hospital. I don't have insurance. I said, well, this is your wake-up call. Guys, you're not going to believe this. About 3 weeks ago, Joey was doing some lumber work and he got smacked in the face by a tree. He ended up in a hospital again, had to have x-rays taken, and he said he had to pay $1,200 out of pocket for his x-rays. Do you think Uncle Joey has insurance yet? No. And I mean, how many, you know the old saying, once bitten, twice shy. He's been bitten twice. When is he gonna wake up? I mean, could you imagine if he had cancer or something? They take away his house. They take away everything. And why? Because it's all about money. You got your wake-up call. You said Obamacare is too expensive? Don't get Obamacare, Joey. Get the insurance from the Affordable Care Act. That's it. Don't call it Obamacare, call it the Affordable Care Act, so you can feel good about it. And you can pay your premiums, and if you and your wife get sick, you can walk into a hospital with dignity like a gentleman. You know what I mean? I was in the hospital again 2 weeks ago, and I walked in, I didn't know what was going on, but you know what? Hey, we're paying the premium, we're paying the VIG. Hey, insurance is expensive, but it's something that we need. And you could see the amount of people that are signing up, the prices are coming down. And talking about Obama and Obama tooting his horn, because it's very rare he does it. We're going to do some fact-checking on what Obama claimed and what Fox and all the friends in all the conservative people had to say about Obama. And so we're going to fact-check Obamacare, which hopefully Uncle Joe will call the Affordable Care Act. So Judy, let's have number one.
This was interesting. The president had an economic
Can I have some
event in
volume
Cleveland
out
today,
here?
and he decided to fact-check his critics.
At every step that we've taken over the past 6
Thank
years,
you.
we were told our goals were misguided, they were too ambitious, that my administration's policies would crush jobs and explode deficits and destroy the economy forever. Remember that? Because sometimes we don't do the instant replay. We don't run the tape back.
But we do.
One Republican in Congress warned our policies would diminish employment and diminish stock prices.
What the stimulus did for jobs, the diminishment of employment in America. You've seen the stock market drop, what, 10%?
Stock market's doubled since I came into office. One Republican senator claimed we faced trillion-dollar deficits as far as the eye can see.
Running trillion-dollar deficits as far as the eye can see.
Another predicted my re-election would spike gas prices to $6.60 a gallon.
If he's reelected, gas prices will be up at around $6.60 per gallon.
$6.60. My opponent in that last election pledged that he could bring down the unemployment rate to 6% by 2016.
6%. People all across the country this morning, Governor, are saying 6%, that sounds pretty good.
6% by 2016. Next year. At the end of next year, it's 5.5 now. And right here in Cleveland, the leader of the House Republicans, a good friend of mine, he captured his party's economic theories by critiquing mine with a very simple question. Where are the jobs, he said. Where are the jobs?
Where are the jobs? Where are the jobs?
Well, after 12 million new jobs, stock market that's more than doubled, deficits that have been cut by 2/3, healthcare inflation at the lowest rate in nearly 50 years, manufacturing coming back, auto industry coming back, clean energy doubled. I've come not only to answer that question, but I want to return to the debate that is central to this country and the alternative economic theory that's presented by the other side.
What plan is presented by the other side? They don't have one. It's that simple. And I wish the president would do more, give him the old bada bing. Stop being a nice guy. Hit him right between the eyes. Take no prisoners. I mean, you've been a gentleman your whole term. Let's take the gloves off now. Let's show these boneheads, let's show everybody how these boneheads operate. Now, the president made some predictions. And there was predictions made about the president. But you know what? The voice of America, Rush Limbaugh, has made some predictions on hate radio. But the president kept his. Did Rush keep his? Well, you know what? Let's find out. Judy, hit it. Next video. Number two. Number two, Judy. There we go.
Where were you 5 years ago when the #1 song in the country was "I'ma Be" by Black Eyed Peas? Alice in Wonderland was the top movie at the box office. 2.5 Men was the highest rated show on TV. The Affordable Care Act was just a few weeks away from being signed, and Rush Limbaugh said this.
If this passes and it's 5 years from now and all that stuff gets implemented, I am leaving the country. I'll go to Costa Rica.
But before packing his bags, he did everything he could to stop the ACA.
The government's making the decision who lives and dies. That's what Obamacare is. It's just a glaring illustration that there are indeed death panels in Obamacare. Individual mandate is an onerous thing. It is a sign of an oppressive, statist, pure socialist government. So it's a law of the land, right? Well, let's see. What else at one time was the law of the land? Slavery.
Wow, time flies when you're trashing a law that's saving lives. The 5 years are up. He made that promise 5 years ago this week, and the healthcare law is doing better than ever. We just learned the law's projected cost is continuing to fall due to low premiums. So let me just be the first to say, bon voyage, Rush. I hope you have a great time in Costa Rica. But if you decide the Caribbean isn't really your thing, try visiting the Eiffel Tower in France, or hang with kangaroos in Australia, or eat sushi in Japan. You won't have to worry about the healthcare debate in any of those countries. They have universal care. So Rush, it's finally time you can jump for joy, dance like nobody's watching, throw your hands in the air. Those 5 years are up. You're on spring break. Did Rush Limbaugh think?
Guys, I love the way he does that, where they got you. And we cut that a little bit short, but, you know, hey, he said he was going to leave the country, but he's still here. Because why? Because everything they say is a load of bull. It's hate radio. They have one agenda: to brainwash the simple folk. It's that simple. They don't mean what they say. Do you think this guy is going to leave his money-making machine and move out of the country? Of course not. I mean, these guys never had it so good. And look at hate radio. Look at all the money that the Koch brothers and everybody else are going to spend on this campaign. And where do they spend it? At places like WLAD. You know, conservative radio 80 in Danbury, where these people can still listen to Rush. Although he's been kicked off a lot of big stations in Chicago and all over the place, New York City. He's now on a substation because nobody wants to hear it. Everybody's getting smart, and especially with the internet. So, you know, if they're not getting their advice, and if they're not being fed the wrong information from hate radio, where else do you think these people are getting their distorted messages from? What could it be, guys? Judy, can you slide in with that still? Next, guys, they're getting brainwashed by Fox News. And the purpose of Fox News is simple. It's rich people like the Koch brothers paying rich people like the Foxtitudes that get in front of the camera to tell the middle class people to blame the poor people. And guys, you know what? That sign needs to be updated. We need to add, beautiful, Judy. It guys, we were practicing this. I'm so proud of Judy. This is tough stuff. But really, that's what they want to do. Fox News, they always want to pit the groups. You can come back to me now, Judy, but they want to pit the groups against each other. White people against black people. Native Americans against immigrants. Gay people against straight people. That's what the Republican Party wants to do. And Judy, let's have clip number 4. This is how Bernie shows the Republican Party wants to divide everybody. So hit it, Judy.
In my view, when we reach out, and what this campaign is about, is to reach out to working families all over this country, including Republicans. Because I believe that the Koch brothers and the Republican leadership in Washington has gotten away with murder for too many years. What they have done is try to divide our country up. Black versus white, native-born versus immigrant, gay versus straight. And what they have done is try to divide us. Our job is to bring people together around a progressive agenda that works for all of us.
Guys, it's really simple. Something that works for all of us and not for the 1%. But guys, did you hear what Bernie said when he said they want to divide Native Americans from immigrants? Well, you know, whenever I thought of a Native American, I always thought of an American Indian. Guys, you know what it just dawned on me today. You know what I am? I'm a Native American. I was born in this country. I'm as native as you get. But I never thought about that. And you know, when it comes to, you know, the Native Americans against the immigrants, guys, I told you time after time, I was in the central vac business. I would install central vacs in $1 million homes. And there was many times when I was the only person on the job site, besides the job manager, who spoke English. I mean, many times. And I mean, you know, these guys, they stick to themselves, they keep their mouth shut, they work, and I'm sure most of them are illegal, and I'm sure most of them aren't paying taxes. A source of revenue that we're letting slip by us. And why? Because some people have distorted ideas of how things work, and they're against immigrants. Now, you see how Bernie wants to eliminate the divisiveness? Guess who wants to create the divisiveness? Guys, you got it. This whole week, everything on Fox News has been about Donald Trump. Donald Trump and the immigrants. I mean, it's unbelievable. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a little clip, and just so you can feel the hate and how this guy despises people that he feels shouldn't come into the country. So Judy, let's have number 5.
The U.S. has become a dumping ground for everybody else's problems. Thank you. It's true. And these are the best and the finest. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. But I speak to border guards, and they tell us what we're getting. And it only makes common sense. It only makes common sense. They're sending us not the right people. It's coming from more than Mexico. It's coming from all over South and Latin America, and it's coming probably from the Middle East. But we don't know, because we have protection and we have no competence. We don't know what's happening. And it's got to stop. And it's got to stop fast.
Boy, did he hit the nail on the head, didn't he? We don't know what's happening, and we gotta stop it. Don't you love it? You gotta be afraid of something. We don't know what you gotta be afraid of, but for right now, you gotta be afraid of immigrants. And guys, you're gonna say, who could vote for a knucklehead like this? I mean, most people would just shy away and they'd say, hey, I don't want to have anything to do with this guy. But Judy, we're going to do the next still. And guys, when you see the polling results and what this has done for Trump's career, you're not going to believe it. So Judy, let's have still number 6. Guys, look at this. By being as divisive as he is, Donald Trump is in first place. Judy, you can come back and forth to me because we're going to be, he's in first. Can you believe this? And you know what, guys? Uncle Joe said, he said, now that I'm starting to listen to him, I'm starting to like him more. And you got to be kidding me. But this is really what we need, guys, so that the average American, the normal people, can say, you got to be kidding me. I don't want to have anything to do with these Fruit Loops. And the next still we're going to do, this will give you, this is from Bernie Sanders' campaign, guys. Judy, can you bring it up full so I can read it? And this is about Social Security. And look at this. Today, a CEO making $50 million a year pays the same amount into Social Security as someone earning $117,000. If we lifted the cap and applied the Social Security payroll tax on income above $250,000, we could extend the solvency of Social Security for another 47 years. And that's exactly what Bernie's legislation. Guys, it's really simple. I mean, but of course, the Republican Party, they want to tell you that you've got to, like just the other day, Bush said, you got to work harder. We can't let people retire at 65. They should, hey, enough's enough. I mean, come on, and you guys just don't get it. All you want to do is maximize profits. And Judy, can we go to the next one? And when I say maximize profits, bring this full, Judy. Between 1935 and 1980, workers got 70% of all the income growth in America. Between 1980 and 2012, workers got none of the income growth. All income gains went to the top 10%. Now, guys, the other day, I was on Marty, I called in on Marty's show, and Marty had J.R. Romano, who's the head of the Republican Party. And I called up and I asked him about the Koch brothers, global warming. Of course, he thought that was a joke. But he said, and I think his brother or his sister is living in Derby, Connecticut. And he says, my brothers and my sisters are having a hard time making ends meet. You know why? All the money's going to the top, that's why. And if you're head of the Republican Party in Connecticut, you of all people should know. But you don't care, because you're in cahoots with these guys. I mean, it's a shame. And we're gonna throw up the last still now, Judy. Yeah, bring it. And guys, this is one of your fat cats. I do not believe in a minimum wage. There should be no limit on how little I pay my workers. Nor do I believe in a maximum wage. There should be no limit on how much I can make off their work. See, I believe in equal opportunity for all. So Judy, come back to me. And guys, that's what it's all about. They just want to maximize profits. To take it, and we've got to change the business model. And you can see what's happening, and hopefully, this is as plain as the nose on my face. But guys, there's something, getting back to the president and how he can roll with the punches. On Friday, they had a lunch at the White House where they invited young chefs with their different ideas. And guys, I love it. One of these guys came up with what's called a Barack Amoli. Now, guys, I'm not that familiar with Spanish foods, and a guacamole to me it's almost foreign. And the fact that guacamole, it seems like it takes forever to say that word, Never mind baracamole. But guys, just to show you what kind of sense of humor the president has, Judy, let's have clip number 10. Hit it.
And so I also just wanted to let you know that although I can't stay to eat right now, that I've looked over the menu, and the food looks outstanding. I'm particularly impressed with the baracamole. So I'm expecting people to save me a little sampling of the baracamole. I also noticed that there are a lot of good vegetables on the menu, including my favorite vegetable, broccoli. Somebody raise their hand?
Well, I told these two that was your favorite.
You didn't believe me? It's true, I love broccoli. I eat it all the time. Anybody else love broccoli? That's what I'm talking about.
All right, guys, so now you know that a baracamole actually exists, but listen to how the president explained about getting kids involved, about how you get the cool kids involved and everybody else follow. It's a social manner. Watch, Judy, let's have the next clip.
The truth is that parents, it turns out, don't always have the most influence in terms of encouraging young people to eat healthy. What really helps is when their friends at school are all like, oh, you're having chips? I'm sorry, I'm having the baracamole. And then because you're a cool kid, suddenly the other kids are all like, well, if that cool kid's eating broccoli, maybe I should try that broccoli out. So you guys are setting a great example for all your friends.
We realized that we needed to improve the quality of school meals by adding fruits and veggies and whole grains. And it required a lot of little energy to make that happen. A little pushing back, but right now, today, 95% of schools in this country are now meeting those new standards. And that's a wonderful achievement.
Imagine that, getting people to eat fruits and vegetables. I mean, and guys, it's so true. The peer pressure. When somebody sees the captain of the football team eating fruits and vegetables, guess what? When they see the kids on the soccer team eating the good stuff, guess what? It all trickles down. And you see from your peers, and they say, hey, enough with the chips. Let's get with the good stuff. But guys, it goes more than that. You are what you drink. And Michelle Obama last year, she tried to get people to drink more water, to hydrate. So Judy, let's have that next clip.
Out with a brand new initiative today, and the First Lady, Michelle Obama, sent us a special message about it. Take a look.
Hello, Today Show viewers, and good morning from the White House. Today I'm working to inspire Americans from all across the country to drink more water. That's why I've stolen Matt and Savannah's mugs and exchanged them with water glasses. Water is the best and easiest choice we can make to feel energized, focused, healthy, and refreshed. You are what you drink, and when you drink water, you're at your best. So drink up.
Mrs. Obama, thank you very much.
If you say so.
Only problem with that is she also sent the same message to Kathy Lee and Hoda. Drink up, and now they're not even going to be here for the rest of the day.
Without any sort of
inclination.
They take a different interpretation
How
of
much
that.
water do you drink a day?
Oh, I don't know. Probably.
I'll drink to that. Well, guys, it's so true. You are what you drink. But you know what? Michelle Obama has to remember who she's dealing with. When you're dealing with conservatives, and especially people like Uncle Joe, who despise everything you say, if you want to get them to drink more water, you know how you do it? You tell them to do the opposite. Tell them to drink more soda. She's going to tell me to drink more soda. To hell with her. I'm going to start drinking water. And that's the way that's the way it is. And Uncle Joe and a lot of the they are so ideologically bound. You know, they're wrapped up in this little box, and they can't see straight. I'm telling you, it's sad. All right, but guys, now we're going to turn our attention to the EPA. And when was the last time you heard a river going on fire? Or when was the last time somebody told you that if you fell in a river, you had to go immediately to the emergency room? Could you imagine if that happened? Well, guys, it had, and it did, and it does. So, Judy, let's have clip number 13.
We all know about the river fire of '69, and as somebody who's interested in the history of Cleveland and Cuyahoga River, I know that wasn't the best fire. You know, I know there was other fires that could have burned down Cleveland had not the wind shifted from the north. I remember a '52 fire. I think that was, I think that one probably would have won the prize for the best fire. I was actually working the day that the river caught on fire, actually working as a hatch tender on the ships. So it's kind of unusual when somebody would yell fire and tell you to run away from the river, because the river is generally water. But when you were working down on the river at that time, the river was like a cauldron. It would just bubble up, oxygen trying to get out of the river. It had a coat of oil on it. And you'd see rats float down the river the size of dogs, bloated from whatever it was that they ingested. And there was a rule that if you fell in the river, you immediately went to the emergency room in the hospital. So the idea here was don't fall in the river.
All right, Judy, you can come back to me now. Guys, when I was a little kid, I fell in the Hudson River, and I want to tell you, I mean, it wasn't that bad, but I mean, you talk about the heebie-jeebies, oh man, and the pylons where I tried to get up, they were all mucky, and they were, I want to tell you, But I mean, you see what we were dealing with, you know? And the next clip, we're going to take it even further, and I mean, what people would do in the name of profits. You know, let's just dump this stuff in the river because, you know, if we have to pay to clean it up, the shareholders won't like that, and there goes all our profit, and we can't use that to clean the stuff up. So it just kept, you know, exponentially. It just kept getting worse and worse. And where does everything from the river go? Into Lake Erie. So now you're turning one of the Great Lakes into a garbage pit. Could you imagine this? So let's get a little more disgusted. Judy, let's have number 14. Hit it. You all right?
The Cuyahoga River, as most think of it, the brown stream that meets Lake Erie. An industrial waterway, its banks populated by steel mills and factories. Its channel filled with ships and tugs. The Cuyahoga River, as it reaches Lake Erie after a 100-mile twisting and turning journey from its headwaters, is an exhausted stream, abused and misused by man and his machines. Today, nearly 2 million people live and work in the river basin. In creating this urban complex, man has used the river as men have always used rivers. The flow has been put to work as a navigable stream, a water supply, and as a sewer. Man's mark is everywhere. Is this mark an epitaph for the Cuyahoga, the crooked river? The Cuyahoga very nearly encircles Cleveland. Its 100-mile watercourse etches an arc from the east, flowing south, curving west, worrying its way through the glacial valleys, and then flowing due north to Lake Erie. 94 miles old, with only 6 miles to live, the Cuyahoga emerges to face a 6-mile-long channel dredged into the face of the land. By this time, the waters of the Crooked River are legally dead. 35 treatment plants have added their effluent to the stream. Much of that discharge has been classed as inadequately treated. Industries have used and reused the declining waters until the quality is so bad that industries downstream must clean the water before they can put it to their own uses. Of the 41 industries discharging directly into the Cuyahoga, 19 bear the onus of having been singled out for inadequately treating their wastes. Because the man-made channel to the lake has disturbed the natural current flow, the waters of the Cuyahoga's industrial flats area move very slowly. It may take water from 8 to 30 days to move through the channel to the lake. During low flow conditions, the Cuyahoga has been known to smell. Lack of flow, along with the staggering load of pollutants and solids that the stream must carry, make this inevitable at times. A river can be worked to death, and the Cuyahoga has been. A growing industrial and municipal demand have sapped the stream to the limit. The Cuyahoga can never again be expected to be a scenic and entirely healthful stream at its terminus, but it could be restored to a good working condition. The techniques for cleansing the river are available, but the cost in dollars to both industry and municipality staggers the imagination. The task of cleaning up the river can be likened to that of sweeping the Augean stables. The question is, will it ever be done? Industry, federal, state, and local governments all have a stake and a say-so. The wheels of change turn exceedingly slow. Industry, with an eye on net profit, is reluctant to move with less than absolute pressure. Municipalities, feeling the pulse of the tax rate and bonding limits, look twice before leaping. While the conferences and committees continue, the dying flow to Lake Erie goes on.
Guys, you know, you look at something like that and you want to throw the towel in, just say, hey, we can't, there's nothing we could do. Our hands are tied, it's too much damage, but you know what? When people get together and when the funding comes to fruition, and especially in America, there's virtually nothing we can't do. So guys, we're gonna prove it to you. Judy, let's have number 15.
WFN Green examines the 40-plus years of cleanup the Cuyahoga River has undergone since the once heavily polluted waterway caught fire.
Today's Republican Party hates the EPA, but the EPA was actually started by Republican
Judy, what
President
did you
Richard
do?
Nixon. With the support of the Republican Party establishment at the time, Nixon ran for president on
Judy.
an environmental...
WFN Green examines the 40-plus years of cleanup the Cuyahoga River has undergone since the once heavily polluted waterway caught fire.
It wasn't our only fire, but it was our last fire. And we had several fires before that that were larger, perhaps more destructive. But this is the fire that really caught the attention of the city, the state, and the nation that was really time to do something with America's waterways. The conditions in the river at the time were that most dumping was not illegal, and so the river was full of a lot of petroleum byproducts that were discharged in the river. They were mixed with a lot of other kinds of urban floating debris, and it made a pretty disgusting swill in the river. And it was very flammable. It jammed up under a railroad bridge, sparked, set it on fire, and it was burned long enough and hot enough to damage the bridge and to shut down a steel mill for a couple of weeks. And that got everybody's attention too, and it had a big impact on local employment. But since then, there's been enormous amounts of investment and recovery that's taken place in the river. When there were fish studies done in the early 70s and late 60s, there were 9 total fish found in the main stem of the river.
Yeah, I'll down it. All right, so we're going to stick with the program, though. 16 is next.
Fish in the thousands. We have essentially achieved full fish population recovery as far as these standards go for Ohio. Eliminating sources of stress and dumping from point discharges had a big impact, and changing the way we interact with the river in terms of non-point sources, discharge from sewage treatment plants, industrial waste, all played a big impact on the river. A program was developed called the American Heritage Rivers Initiative, which designated essentially the most needy river systems for special attention by the federal government. So 14 rivers were designated. The Cuyahoga was one, the Detroit is the other of the 2 in the Great Lakes, and the other 12 are in other parts of the country. The purpose of the American Heritage River system was to provide unique federal attention and also what's called a river navigator. That's a role I hold, which is to help the stakeholders navigate federal red tape and to coalesce funding. So that's an important role, and it's a unique role that the American Heritage Rivers play. All 14 rivers have been successful in different ways in their own river communities. Ours is very much focused on environmental restoration of the river. People know that recovery does in fact happen, and people want to continue. It's a source of enormous pride. Where the fire had always been a source of enormous embarrassment, now the recovery is a source of pride, and people want to continue the effort. We're seeing investment to re-gentrify the lower section of the river, housing, retail. Offices are now locating in the ship channel area where before it was untenable to even think of locating in these areas. And so success begets success, investment begets investment, and we're seeing that momentum, and that's certainly a story that other rivers are engaged in around the Great Lakes. And I think they will also demonstrate the magnitude of fish recovery, aquatic population, and just pure water cleanliness that we're enjoying here.
Okay. So guys, you see there's hope. I mean, things can be done, but you want to get it to the point where you don't have to start cleaning it up. If you don't start putting it, if you don't start polluting the water and the air, we don't have to clean it up. And, this was the idea behind the EPA. To clean the water and the air, it was really very simple. And guess who started the EPA? You're not going to believe it. It was a Republican. Yeah. So, back then, this is when Republicans were normal people. before they became extremists and before the Koch brothers started to buy the country. And why? You know, that's why the Koch brothers hate the EPA, because the EPA wants to regulate them. They're going to regulate us. Yeah, we're going to make sure you don't put mercury in the water. We're going to make sure you don't put carbon in the air. Yes, we're going to regulate you. Get used to it. You've been getting away with murder, like Bernie said. No more. No more. We're not going to let you get away. So now we're going to show you the clip. Oh, and guys, we're trying some new stuff, so that's why we're making a couple of mistakes here, but we're not going to charge you for the mistake. But anyway, the next clip is about the EPA and how the Republican Party started it. So Judy, hit it.
Today's Republican Party hates the EPA, but the EPA was actually started by Republican President Richard Nixon. With the support of the Republican Party establishment at the time, Nixon ran for president on an environmentalist platform. Early in his first term, he created the EPA by an executive order in 1970. In other words, he used his authority as president to bypass Congress and created the EPA with all its regulatory powers and agenda already in place. Today, Republicans regularly attack the Environmental Protection Agency as if it was created by a liberal big government agenda attempting to take power away from the private sector. But in fact, it was Republican President Richard Nixon who created the EPA. The EPA was one of his greatest achievements as president before the Watergate scandal ended his political career.
Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
Hey, at least Nixon did one thing right, you know? So, I mean, not everything was bad. But the next clip we're going to show you is from the EPA itself. And the EPA is going to confirm that climate change, that, global warming is happening, and they're going to confirm it along with the National Academy of Sciences, with NASA, with NOAA, with HADCUT 4, with all the science universities in the country and the world, where everyone has agreed that global warming is happening. So now we're going to give you the EPA's take on global warming. So Judy, hit it.
The climate is changing. In fact, it's been changing for millions of years. But what's different now is the climate is changing at an unprecedented rate. We're seeing it in rising temperatures, in the increased intensity of storms, floods, and droughts. And the frequency of this severe weather is increasing. Also, sea levels are rising more rapidly. How do these events affect the things we care about in our daily lives? Many of the things that we depend on, like food, water, and energy, are sensitive to changes in climate.
After this clip is
Climate change makes it more difficult to ensure adequate water supplies for drinking water, growing crops, and hydropower.
Let's let
Destroys
this clip
our rivers
play.
and beaches.
Then I'm wondering if we should do
changes the landscape of our country from
2
Florida,
minute and 30
the Gulf Coast, to Glacier National Park, and Alaska. It affects our ability to raise cattle and catch fish, and it increases the risk we face of infectious disease and heat-related deaths. Any one of these consequences of climate change would pose a significant challenge to our nation. But these things are all happening across America.
We'll have 6 minutes left after this.
Hurricane Sandy illustrated that we are inadequately prepared to protect ourselves against extreme weather. Flooding damaged thousands of homes and businesses in New Jersey, Connecticut, and New York, even Wall Street. While parts of the area are back to normal, not every community was resilient enough to recover quickly.
No, you know
from
what?
this
Let's
disaster.
do this. Let's do number
Some still
18
haven't.
next. That's 2.5 minutes.
These localized storms can have natural impacts. Hurricane Katrina didn't just devastate New Orleans, it affected the availability of oil and natural gas to people all across the country. The dramatic shifts in our weather
when we
patterns
start
are
that
now
one,
causing
let's see how
severe
much
drought
time
and
we have
flooding,
left.
posing major
So
challenges
we'll stick.
to farmers.
So we're gonna go
Farmers are
with
struggling
18
to grow our
next.
crops as they are hit
And then
by
once we
repeated
start
floods
that,
and
we're going to
droughts.
see how much time
If
we
this
have
keeps
left.
up, we could
Okay.
see a scarcity in our food supplies and higher prices at the grocery store. As our temperatures and weather patterns shift, farmers may no longer be able to keep growing the same types of crops. Climate change is also threatening our water supplies in states like California, Arizona, and Nevada. Lake Mead, a key source of water for those states, is already at historically low levels. They may soon have to ration water for drinking, agriculture, and energy production. Extreme dry spells are also triggering more wildfires that are burning out of control and destroying homes. And it's not just happening here in the United States. It's happening all around the world. There's no time to wait. The consequences of delaying action will only become more severe and more difficult to overcome. We have an opportunity to slow the rate of climate change and make it more manageable by cutting greenhouse gas emissions that contribute to global warming. In the same way that all of our individual actions cause the climate to change so rapidly, we can all be part of the solution. Working together, we can make a difference as we continue to reduce greenhouse gases and anticipate, prepare, and adapt to a changing climate.
I like it. Anticipate, prepare, adapt. And guys, that's what we're going to have to do. I mean, we're going to have to make adaptation. And, you know, we have to be honest with each other. We're too far into the process. And, you know, things are in motion. It's too late to stop it. But we got to try to slow it down the best we can. So the next clip is another clip from the EPA, just pouring more gasoline on the fire just to keep proving our point. So Judy, let's have number 18.
With climate change, we face a choice: action or inaction. If we don't act, the global average temperature will continue its rapid climb, and the temperature changes in the United States will mean serious impacts across all sectors of the U.S. economy. Today, we are already seeing more extreme weather, rising seas, changing rain and snow patterns, and more drought. These impacts and others are expected to worsen with climate change. But what if we come together as a global community to address climate change? EPA's newly released Benefits of Global Action report looks at the consequences if we don't act, and the payoff for the U.S. of global action. If we act on climate, all Americans, especially our children and grandchildren, will see the benefits in our health and our environment. We can prevent tens of thousands of premature deaths annually in the United States by the end of the century through air quality improvements and less extreme temperatures. By the year 2100, we can cut the increase of severe drought by half and avoid more than $10 billion in agriculture losses per year, helping keep food prices affordable. We can prevent billions of dollars in infrastructure costs by the end of the century, cutting the number of vulnerable bridges in half and saving Americans approximately $3 billion in annual costs to coastal property and up to $7 billion in road repairs. We can prevent the most severe climate impacts if we act now. The choices that we and the global community make today are the legacy we will leave to our children and grandchildren. U.S. leadership is crucial to global climate action. The Clean Air Act, established by Congress, obligates us to protect the health and welfare of Americans today and tomorrow. That's why EPA is taking action to address the largest sources of greenhouse gas emissions in the United States. EPA's Clean Power Plan will cut hundreds of millions of tons of heat-trapping carbon pollution from power plants, while cutting harmful smog and soot-forming emissions too. Our fuel efficiency standards for cars and trucks will cut over 6 billion tons of carbon pollution and save Americans $1.7 trillion at the pump. We're acting to make a difference on climate change.
Republican Party has gotten the simple folk to hate the EPA. But you know what? They're only trying to do things for the benefit and the common good of everybody. And just because it's going to cost the shareholders of the corporations more money and cut into their profits, guess what? Be thankful that you were able to get away with it for all these years. But the gravy train is over. The party stops now. And guys, we're going to show you a Republican now on the floor of the Senate with Gina McCartney from the E.P.A. And this guy is such a denier. And I want to tell you, I really had to respect her, because if it was me, I probably would have got up and I would have given this guy Sessions the old bada bing, because I tell you, he just doesn't. The stuff that you hear him say, and guys, it's stuff that we repeat all the time. It's stuff that Marty says, and stuff that Dave Straight says. You know, they've been brainwashed. They can't read a thermometer and they don't understand science. It's that simple. But we're going to show you this clown from the Republican Party going up against the E.P.A., Gina McCartney, and she had to bite her tongue. And guys, hopefully on the next show, we'll play the rest of the clip, and I'm not going to bite my tongue. So Judy, hit it.
As a member of the Budget Committee and somewhat familiar with the Budget Control Act, which contain the growth of spending, I think E.P.A. this year should be flat spending, or at least no more than 2.5% increase. You're proposing a 6% increase. I mean, where does the money come from? Are you proposing to break the limitations?
Okay.
Briefly.
It is part of the president's proposal, which is not going to buy into the bad policy of sequestration, but he's designed a budget that can accommodate this. And Senator, the one thing I want to say is that...
all right, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Guys, Senator Sessions said, where are we going to get the money? Where's the money going to come from? We're going to take it from the profits of the corporations. It's that simple. Hey, you got away with it long enough. The game's over. We got the internet. We got everything on our side, and we're not going to let you get away with the old double reverse anymore. So, Judy, are you going to run the credits now? There we go. And guys, I want to thank everybody, and especially Judy, and I'll see you on Facebook. It was our pleasure, and next week,